Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Monday, the 16th of November, 2020. I am your host, the amazing Super Chris. My co-hosts, Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog and over at Patheos and here on YouTube, and Nokasuchi from the Rage channel will be joining me here in just a minute. And we're going to talk about politics and religion and politics and religion.
Life is complicated. These are trying times. There are many questions that need answering. Want to know what's going to help? Atheism. With atheism, you'll get rid of dogma, superstitions, and toxic thought patterns that are holding you back. You can drive while taking atheism, as well as use heavy machinery. In fact, drinking alcohol, fornicating, and Sunday mornings are far more enjoyable with atheism. However, there are side effects. Some evangelicals and fundamentalists will think you are possessed by the devil. But you don't have to worry, because you know the devil isn't real. Just like God. Wake up to your life. Believe in yourself. Believe in science. Atheism.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Andy and Nokasuchi, for joining me. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Andy, how about you, man? Did you have a good weekend? How was your weekend? I
am doing well. My weekend went okay. I have no complaints. Survived it, right? So that's good. Probably a positive
That's a step in the right direction.
Probably.
Better than Nokasuchi.
Agree. But, so I'm doing well. I have very limited complaints, though I'm sure as we go through this hour of conversation, I will be complaining quite a bit because that's just what I do.
Just skill. You got to keep it honed.
Yeah.
Hey, Nokasuchi, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. I've been a little less triggered than I was last night when I got out of work, and I went all over my social medias cursing out Trump for the bastard he is. I'm waking up and I'm trying to starting to get into that mode. All right, here's the situation. Now we start figuring it out. So
right. Well, good. Yeah, I guess I had a pretty decent weekend. I want to before we get into stuff, I want to say hello to everybody in the damn nation, all you people who watch on the various YouTube channels or Facebook pages or who listen on the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast live. Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Briefly, we're going to talk about the politics and religion. Then we got some other things we've got on our list that we'd like to talk about. Good morning, Derek and Critical Cripple. Dave, you're awesome. Lord Mayhanship, all you guys. I can't see you guys. I got these new glasses. They're supposed to be non or less reflective so you can see my pretty Cohosts. And I guess maybe they are, but I really can't see with them. They're
so you got glasses that you can't see through.
I can't see through. That is exactly indeed. That is what you're hearing. So I thought I'd wear them for just a moment to see how they worked and lay that so I could have a recording of what I look like. Bo, we've grown out, we've nitty-bond. Done. But otherwise, I can't see out of them. It's like, oh, my brain hurts. It makes my brain hurt.
This my next question is going to show you that I really don't understand how glasses work. Can you wear one pair of glasses on top of the other pair of glasses? Or would that work?
I don't know. I've done that before in different circumstances. Probably not for this circumstance. The goal was to make it to where you could see my eyes. Double stacking them, it's just not going to help. I'm just going to have to.
What I'm saying is that I don't know why you don't go and throw an old school reference here. I don't know why you don't go full Roy Orbison and just wear shades all the time.
Oh, you're Wally. That's a good idea. That's what these were. These are near and far. Actually, I have had LASIK. I can see from about. Well, my arms aren't long enough anymore, right? But I can see far away. It's just up close I can't see. I can kind of see it if I squint.
Right.
Then I look angry all the time. Anyway, good morning, everybody. I hope you had a good time. I just wanted to talk about briefly that here on the show, thankfully, the election is over. We talked about on the show, if you missed it, if you weren't here, we talked about on the show, before the show, I came out and I talked to my co-hosts, Andy Hall and Nokasuchi, and I said, man, there's so much craziness going on in the political world. We need to just kind of address it. And they agreed. We came on the show, and we had a whole show, and we talked about how we're going to start embracing politics. Normally, I tried to talk about politics on the show, but I finally gave in. And we had a show about it and said we were going to talk about it during the election and during the craziness that was going on in our world. Now, if you disagree with me politically, that's fine. I understand. That's not what we're here for. I'm not here to create a show that everybody agrees with. You know, I mean, nobody can do that. That's not. But my goal is indeed to move back towards politics and move back towards religion and the harms that religion and people of religion do, and move away about pure political talk. Move away from that. Trump is not my favorite thing to talk about. I have to say, though, it is funny making the GIFs. I do enjoy making the GIFs that you see over here. Love doing that. It's easy to do with Trump. But we're going to move back to other stuff. So now today, one of the articles that Andy has sent me is an article about a preacher who has premonitions, and he's talking to his congregation about these premonitions. Am I right or am I right, Andy?
I just want to say that people can disagree with you, Chris, and that's fine. But they disagree with me, they're just wrong.
They are wrong. I would agree
They're
with that.
just wrong.
Anyway, so this guy's...
Any matter whatsoever. Anything. Even the stuff that I'm wrong about. That's humor, by the way. That's humor. You see, that's the kind of absurdity. Gotta like bring people in here.
Anyway,
so what are we talking about? We're talking about the minister with the plates.
So the guy with the plates. So we're going to talk about this wacko with the plates. He's up here with the plates. He's got these premonitions, and he's going to talk. He's leading his flock and telling his flock in his church and on, I presume, the web and possibly some kind of TV thing. He's leading his flock, and he's telling them about his premonitions. That's cool. That's normal. Let's go ahead and bash this guy, right? That's crazy talk. Like God is showing him premonitions. What's God showing him premonitions of?
This is a story from the Daily Atheist. It's from the November 14th. It's called, the name of the article is Prophet, in quotes, interprets wacky dream involving spinning plates and red states. I'll just give you a flavor of the article. Mm-hmm. Christian, quote, prophetic revivalist Dutch Sheets claimed a couple of years ago that he was the reason there were 2 vacancies on the Supreme Court more than a decade ago. He loves dreams, and he loves taking credit for whatever he claims those dreams represent. He's still at it. This time during a live stream, he spoke about a prayer one of his buddies had that involves predicting which states will go blue or red during the election. And what this dream had was that this gentleman dreamed that there was a liberal holding poles, or several liberals holding poles with spinning blue plates. And then the president of these United States, that is Donald J. Trump, had someone shoot the plates, these blue plates, and when they were shot, they landed on the ground and became red states. So the blue plate became like the red state of Georgia, the red state of North Carolina, all these like major swing states. And it was supposed to be a prophecy. Ladies and gentlemen, small furry animals, about these swing states going red during the election. Of course, it didn't happen. These states, Georgia, North Carolina was red, sure. But the other states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, blue states. And I don't know, is the crime for being a bad prophet stoning to death? I think there's at least 1 or 2 verses in the Old Testament about that. If your prophecies go south or sideways, you're not really a prophet. You're spewing out lies.
Spewing lies. Okay, so now I just kind of want to, before I go too far along, I want to move on to this very amazing GIF that I made. It took creativity and such. Now you'll notice that the president, I don't particularly care for calling him that. This individual is holding up no, that's not a cookbook. It's an instruction manual on how to operate your 1996 Panasonic VCR. No. It's a Bible. That's what it is. It's a Bible. Now, of course, we know that this individual, he gassed people peaceful demonstrators so he could move them out from in front of a church so he could take this photograph. I added the flames, by the way. I also added the burning cross. It wasn't there either. But you get the point. I mean, it's very difficult to separate these two, the differences between religion and now in other countries, bless you, you don't have the problems we have. It's not the same. But here it is so intertwined. They are literally using people's faith en masse to hurt other people. This man is currently at this point, people are upset with me because I rail against this individual, and yet right now he's doing lawsuits trying to subvert our democracy. And we all predicted he would, right? So it's difficult. What is it that they bring? Why do I care as an atheist? Now I want to turn this over briefly as if this image wasn't enough as to why I would care, because he's using religion against us. He's using those to gain power and hurt people. He has killed hundreds of thousands of individuals in this country, and he used the religious right to get there. And hell yeah, the atheist people should be aware and should be against this. Can't help it. I mean, if you don't like that, I apologize. If you disagree with that, I'm sorry. I got lots of people, I heard from a couple of individuals that another channel somewhere out there was talking about my content and how they thought it was inappropriate that I was talking about political stuff when I should be talking about religious stuff. But you know what? I mean, I thank you. You're wonderful. I appreciate your opinion. I do. You're wonderful. I actually agree. Right? Have I not agreed? Everybody? I have agreed. It's just that the weight of the politics going on is significant. And it would be foolish to not talk about it. Down the road, when history looks back on this, my voice will say that I resisted against this. I don't care if you like it or not. If you don't like it, don't watch the show. The people, oddly enough, who complain don't watch the show anyway. And even when I was talking about that, they didn't watch. So, I understand because I don't watch other people's show. I'm not trying to bitch about other people because that's not what I do on this show. That's not what we tend to do. We don't tend to talk about other channels and what they do. But I wanted to explain myself that I do indeed want to move away from politics. I do. I want to move away from there as quickly as we can and move about towards religion, because that's what we're about. And I'm going to start trying to work on other little shows and other little things that'll let me get my political anger and frustration out there. So I do want those things. But let me show you this again one more time in case you missed it. Okay? So this guy is using religion against us, and he's killing hundreds of thousands. You can't deny any of those things. He lies. He's a habitual liar. He's a narcissist. You can't deny any of these things. And he's harming our country, and it's okay. It's okay for me to be against that, and it's okay for me to use my voice against that. But I'm sick of talking about this guy. I want him to go away as soon as possible. And I'm keen and eager. But today, like I said, me and Andy, we're going to talk about something else. Andy, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about this nutbag with spinning plates. Wait, all right, so tell the first way. Hold on. Let me do this. Okay, so there's this religious guy who's got this flock. And he's telling his church, and he's telling his people on the internet, and he's telling his people on his TV channel, and all the people, and he's telling about this dream he had. He's got these plates, and these plates are up there, and then they start falling down, and well, we got to stop there because then it gets political. So that's the end of our story. Nokasuchi, brother, because we want to avoid the political part of that. How are you doing in Michigan? Has the religious war on science taken hold in Michigan to where there's a spread of the cooties that we could have prevented had the religious people in your community adhered to? Were they not prodded on by the political right to not do those things?
Oh yeah.
Are people not now dying because the religious people in that state are co-working with the political people in that state on the right? They are, I believe. So I believe I have every right to talk about that anytime I want to. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not talking about politics. Go ahead with your Michigan stuff.
Well, when it comes to atheism and politics, I think it's a false a false equivocation for people to say, why are atheists talking about politics? We're human beings and we have politics. And it's not the atheists that are the ones entwining their politics with their faith. That would be the Christians. The Christians do that. Right. And now atheists, we have to respond. If we don't respond, then our rights could be taken away. As for what's happening here in Michigan, I think it's a nationwide thing that we're all going to be dealing with, because we had a president who said that this virus was going to be over in April. It didn't get over in April. He ignored all the conditions that said that come flu season, where we're going to have another surge and it was going to get crazy. And now my state is shutting down. My governor announced it last night. I am losing. I just got back to full time after my COVID. I'm behind. I'm trying to catch up, saving every dime. And now I find out last night that I'm going to lose almost all of my hours because we are shutting down. And we could have stayed shut down and got a real handle on this, and I wouldn't be worried about losing everything right now. We would have had stimulus. We would have been taken care of, had food in our homes, and now we're facing starvation and homelessness here in Michigan, and it's really scary right now. Like I was saying, I'm to the point, I'm over the triggering, but now I'm in the mode of, all right, let's figure this thing out.
It's interesting that you should say that, Rage, because I just walk around my neighborhood and there are posters up on telephone poles and on trees, basically telling renters that landlords cannot throw you out in the state of Massachusetts at this time, and only a judge can. I don't know what the state laws are for anyone who's listening and who, is in a crisis in terms of their housing, in case that you're renting or in case you have a mortgage due. But definitely check the laws of your state. Here in Massachusetts, once again, you need a court. You need a judge to toss you out into the cold. A landlord just can't do it on their own.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be looking into today. But no, Chris is exactly right. Like, it's that religious right element here in Michigan that put that political pressure on Gretchen, on our governor, to open up even when she didn't want to. And it was because Trump was telling them that all these things, and their pastors are telling them these things. I just put out a video last night about Hannah Williamson talking about Christians getting prophecies, not just pastors at the pulpit, but like Jesus is handing superpowers to all these Christians now, and their prophecy. And they had a prophecy that Trump would win. They had a prophecy that Biden would win. They had a prophecy that Trump would steal it in the courts. But they're also having prophecies that there's going to be a civil war this year. Right. And they are projecting that, and they are pretty much telling Christians, hey, it's time to stand up and it's time to kill the non-believers.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just really hard. Before we go too far, before we stray too far away from the point, I just want to say I do appreciate is it criticism? I guess it's criticism. I appreciate the view, the input. I appreciate that I have worked on a channel that has gotten to a size that other people with channels both larger and smaller than mine talk about. I'm flattered. I mean, I am. I don't want to start a flame war or nothing. I appreciate the advice. Matter of fact, the advice is something we were already talking about. So I just want to, before I stray too far, sometimes I get rankled whenever somebody tells me what to do. I'm like, I was already going to do that, but hell no, not now. I try to not do that this time because I do want to move away towards those things. They're just so intertwined, and it's not. I'm not trying to thumb my nose at anybody. I'm just saying.
I just want to. We've talked about it before. I appreciate them all.
They're wonderful.
And I'll make this point again. One of the most popular podcasts, The Friendly Atheist, talks about what is relevant to the atheist community. And guess what? A lot of this is these right-wing lunatic politicians who are out there undermining the republic because of religious reasons. Christianity is not small d democratic. It is hierarchical. It is feudalistic. It is authoritarian. It is directly against, small d democracy and the principles of our republic. He has an incredibly popular blog too. He gets more traffic. He gets more clicks than all of the haters of yours, Chris, combined in multitudes, in multiples.
Understood.
So, I mean, there's like legitimate criticism, and then there's just haters who are going to hate. Right. I've been doing this thing for.
I'm sorry. No, I thought you were done. No. Well, no, I mean, I get you. I feel you, brother. I feel you. I'm not saying they're legitimate haters. I'm not saying they're haters. Sometimes it's good advice. Sometimes you got to listen to folk. I'm just saying this is the things that where my show is already going. We're doing this. I want to talk about religion. That's what I want. But Trump has been literally trying to overthrow our democracy and kill. You know what I mean, right? So we got to talk about that. And if you don't, if you don't agree with me on how much that's fine. We're allowed, right? That's how it goes. I just wanted to say, as we go forward, I do indeed intend to try to take the channel more to religious topics. However, if something if something crazy goes on political, we're going to talk about it. I mean, it's just going to happen. It does.
Oh yeah, I mean, if Paula White starts putting up pyres in Washington D.C., we got to talk about that, right? Like,
true. I mean, it's not hard. It's not a hard stretch to do any of the things and find religious connections, because they're using religion. The far right is using religion against the rest of the nation to wag the dog. They're using, thank you, Paul Camish, for the £4.99 of support for the channel. He says a cup of tea for Chris. I don't know if I think I've had enough coffee.
I need more coffee. I'm still waking up. Chris is the early bird of the bunch.
I've been up since like 2:30 this morning. It's gonna make for good nappy time today.
It's about an hour after I went to bed. So.
So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. Good morning, Cindy. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now that we've kind of covered that, again, I do appreciate that. I appreciate the guidance. Some people aren't wrong. I apprate. I mean, nobody hid anything from me. It wasn't. No. It wasn't like that. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't really have. I have worked hard to try to avoid having arch nemesis.
Well, constructive criticism is always good. If somebody's going to give you good, solid advice and say, hey, this is what I see and this is what I like. I mean, it's your show. You're going to do what you want, but don't shut yourself down to good advice. So,
of course, and that's how I think they mentioned. I think that's how it's meant. That's how it's meant. That's how we're taking it. And one of the things I mentioned this before the show to you guys. I would like there seems to be this feud always. It's like this atheist community is, if you were to look at it from a distance, there's this own little war going on all the time from different places. I don't want to be a part of that. I've just struggled hard to not be a part of that. I don't think I've met anybody in the atheist community yet. I don't think. Have I?
I have a friend online, Katie Joy. She used to be, and she's a diversive character. She's a diversive character. She was a blogger on Patheos. Now she runs a Without a Crystal Ball YouTube channel, which is incredibly popular. But she made an observation that people who hate watch you consistently, people who hate watch you are still your fans.
Oh, of course. Right. Again, I don't feel I have any. Well, I have some of those, but they're not my friends in the atheist community. They're like flow state. You can
be fans and still not friends.
Of course. Yeah. So I'm just saying that because I'd like to have people out there on the show without having to worry about who they're fighting with. I want to, as we go back into atheism, I want to get Matt Dillahunty on the show. I want to get Hemant Mehta on the show. I'd like to get, what's that guy's, Cosmic Skeptic on the show. I want to get these people on the show without worrying about whether they're fighting with other people or how that works. That's just not what I want this show to be about. It's about all of us and what these people are doing to us, both religiously. That's what I started it about, is the harms done by religion. Now, unfortunately, the politics are using the religion to harm us. So that's kind of where we are. There was another thing. Oh, you wanted to talk about Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts.
You want to catch us up with that article that you had there, Andy?
Boy Scouts. I hate the Boy Scouts as an organization. Back in the day, I helped organize boycotts of them selling their Christmas trees. I've had many arguments with atheists, flaccid atheists with no spine about this particular issue, because what many people don't realize is that atheists are not officially allowed in the Boy Scouts of America. It is in their bylaws. Mm-hmm. And I've written about this a number of times. Every once in a while, Hemant Mehta, actually on The Friendly Atheist, points it out that, hey, the BSA, Boy Scouts of America, still don't like atheists, to let everybody else in. But guess what? Atheists are considered to be not moral enough, not moral enough for the Boy Scouts of America. And now that's going to be really funny in the next story that we're coming on, but I want to tee it up. This is what I'm teeing up here.
Okay.
So the reason why the Boy Scouts of America don't allow atheists in is because every single den, every single small group of Boy Scouts has to be supported by a church. Now, this is different from the Girl Scouts of America. The Girl Scouts of America have not been infiltrated by the religious industrial complex of this country, but there were a lot of Mormon churches supporting the Boy Scouts of America, funding, supporting individual dens, and they are anti-atheist, and they have been spewing out their anti-atheist hatred via the Boy Scouts bylaws. Now, you may say, well, my individual den allows atheists in, and I would say to you, oh, flaccid atheist, oh, spineless one, and I don't care. Let the hate mail come in. I would not allow my child to be part of an organization that officially was against Black people, was officially against the LGBTQ community, against any minority. That is just wrong. And the idea that atheists allow their children to be part of the Boy Scouts is complicity. It is complicity with your own subjugation, with your own second-class citizen status. Shame, shame, nothing but shame. That's a Shakespeare reference to Henry V.
How do you really feel
in Battle of
about it?
Agincourt. But let me continue to the matter at hand. It turns out that the organization who doesn't allow atheists in, guess what? They're a bunch of freaking pedophiles. Who would have thought that? Now, this is not any new news for anyone who've been following the pedophile scandal of the Boy Scouts of America. But let me just give you some. What's that?
There are real pedophile scandals. Not a QAnon fake pedophile scandal.
Right. This is real stuff. This is
real
on
stuff.
the level of of Catholic priest pedophile scandals here in the States. So I'm just going to read part of this article that's in the New York Times. This particular article is from the Dallas State Morning News, since I don't have to pay money to get to the Dallas Morning News. The name of the article is Over 81,000 people have filed sex abuse claims against Irving-based Boy Scouts of America, attorney says. And the subtitle is More Victims May Still Come Forward Before the Filing Deadline Monday Evening. At least 81,500 people have filed sexual abuse claims against the Boy Scouts of America as part of the Irving-based organization's bankruptcy proceeding. So they are declaring bankruptcy. And I'm going to let you guess why. I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise why they're declaring bankruptcy, since they have 81,500 people suing their miserable asses. Paul Mones, who has, and I'm probably butchering his last name, it's Mones, who has represented plaintiffs in such cases against the Boy Scouts for nearly 20 years, said more victims may come forward before the deadline Monday evening. I've been doing these cases longer than almost any attorney in the country. He said nobody thought numbers would be like this. In a written statement Sunday, the Boy Scouts said the organization is, quote, devastated by the number of lives impacted by past abuse and scouting and moved by the bravery of those who come forward. F you, Boy Scouts of America. What you are disgusted at is that you got caught and now you're being brought to justice for it. That's what you're ashamed of. That's what you're disgusted about. That's what makes you upset. But Moniz said the number of claims filed may represent only a portion of the people who are harmed, because many sexual abuse victims do not report the crimes. Andrew Van Arsdale, an attorney with abuse and scouting, and I'm laughing because it's so crazy that there is an organization called Abuse and Scouting, recently told the Baltimore Sun that the organization submitted more than 12,000 claims. This is beyond all imagining that this many men have come forward, he told the Sun. So the Boy Scouts of America filed for bankruptcy protection in mid-February, saying the national organization intends to use Chapter 11 to process to set up a victims' compensation fund. And when we mean set up a victims' compensation fund, that means defending their own assets against these 81,500 people who are bringing them to trial, bringing a court case against them for the abuse. This story has been unwinding for years now, and And now we're at this point with 81,500 people filing charges in a class action suit against the Boy Scouts of America.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. You know, you have a church organization that has pedophilia in it. It's not Catholicism. You know, I've had this conversation with a lot of Christians, you know, because they try to point at Catholicism as that's the problem. And this is a problem that goes everywhere. It's in your Protestant churches across the world. It's in your homes. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that a Christian organization has issues again and are setting up protections for itself against its victims. Mm.
I read in the New York Times article that the amount of people filing against the Boy Scouts of America are greater than the amount of people who filed against the Catholic Church. That's what I read in the New York Times article. People can check that out.
Well, yeah, and when it comes to go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask if this spells the end of the Boy Scouts of America. How close
They've been squeezed. They've been squeezed. And this is the way how you deal with these freaking institutions too, by the way. You don't ask them to reform. You don't say, pretty please. You put pressure on them. You put pressure on institutions. And those that will reform, and those that don't will die. So either way, you get what you want, which is basically change. So the idea that people can just passively go along with the Catholic Church doing what they're doing, or with the Boy Scouts of America doing what they're doing, it's just wrong. You know, boycotts work, putting legal pressure on organizations work. What doesn't work is sitting around with your thumbs up your butt. That's what doesn't work.
It depends on your goals, though.
Or promoting the issue
in that case.
Promoting the issue and with false narratives like QAnon does, or focusing your attention on the problem instead of focusing your attention on the conspiracy theory aspects of the problem instead of the actual problem. When you talk about this, the average time it takes for somebody to come forward with one of these claims is about 40 years, because you have power dynamics. Human beings tend to repress trauma. A lot of people, you say over 80,000 victims here. Just imagine the number of people that hasn't come forward yet. You know, I mean, it's a huge problem across America. We should be dealing with it head on, but instead we have the QAnon, and we have the president pushing the QAnon, and half the country believes the QAnon now, and so you can't even deal with the real issue at hand.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to get away from those kind of things that are just toxic. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who in the Boston area, and he's a guy in the movement too. I'm not going to give his name because he wouldn't want me to. But he was an Eagle Scout when he was a kid, and now that he's an atheist, he's volunteered to work with the BSA, and they don't want any of his stuff because he is a public atheist in the community here. And they basically said, no, thank you. You can volunteer somewhere else. That's how crazy this organization is.
You know, it's hard to imagine that they couldn't. Well, to be honest, I didn't realize the problem was as pervasive as it is. If it's worse, you know, like per capita than the Catholic Church, they've set goals and gone for those goals. Because that's the only way you get those kind of numbers.
It's been a problem for a long time, but it's a problem people really haven't faced head on. I mean, there for a long time, if you were gay, you couldn't become what do they call it, like a den master or whatever they are, the leaders of the pack. You know, your adult supervisors. If you were gay, you couldn't do that. And so, I mean, this has been a problem. It's a problem that we've ignored. I was in the Cub Scouts when I was a kid. You know, thankfully nothing happened to me, but I look at these stories and I'm like, it very easily could have.
We were too poor to be in the Cub Scouts.
You were too poor to be in the Cub Scouts?
We couldn't afford to be in the Cub Scouts. I remember we had friends and they had, but we couldn't do it. Yeah,
you had to go buy the shirts and the uniforms. Yeah, I mean, it did get a little expensive. Yeah.
Andy, you were going to do something. Your hands were moving. He said something about Scoutmasters, and I thought, man, he's going to go off.
It's once again, it's the same atheists who don't want to, who are happy with just talking about theology and talking about what the Bible says and about the certain definitions of certain words within the Bible, and don't want to talk about the Boy Scouts of America, don't want to talk about Donald Trump, don't want to talk about the Republicans. And they are digging their own freaking graves. That's what they are.
Right.
They're blinding themselves. It's important to know that stuff. It's important to know your Bible so you can argue with people and know what the book actually says. But if you're blinding yourself to everything else in the world, that's a folly. That is a huge fallacy, and that is not understanding the country that you are living in. It's as simple as that.
You should learn from history, because you can ignore it right up until they take you and put you on the pyre. You're not going to be able to ignore it then.
Right.
Don't like obfuscate it or anything. Just throw us right on the fire.
Yeah.
By the way, I put links to the Friendly Atheist article in Chris's chat and my chat too, in case anyone wants to check it out.
Excellent.
So
That's a
F
good
Boy
one.
Scouts of America.
I need to get him on. We need to get him on the show. I had no idea that was going on in the Boy Scouts and that it was that. Well, I mean, yeah, I knew it was going on in the Boy Scouts. I just didn't know it was that on that big of a scale.
AA says I was kicked out of the Girl Scouts.
Well, if we did know that it was on that big of a scale, Chris, would parents still be sending their little boys to Boy Scouts? No. I mean, it's disgusting that we didn't know, right? Like, it's disgusting that we didn't know.
The thing is that I'm going to push back a little bit. Some people would still be sending their kids to.
Oh yeah, they still send them to church, right?
A lot of kids still send their kids to CCD. Why do they send their kids to CCD? Because they're lazy. Because that's
some parents sent their kids to Michael Jackson, for Christ's sake.
Do we still have? I mean, we still, and I'm not Catholic, so I could be wrong. If we have any out there, let me know. We still have altar boys, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So people, despite the very well-known Catholic sex scandal that goes everywhere all over the world, you just can't escape it. Everybody knows. We still have people who trust their kids to these people.
Oh yeah, it's weird. Like when my mom was taking my daughter to church, that's one of the things that I worried about. Even though I knew my daughter was going with my mom, my stepdad, that she was going to be watched, I was still terrified because I am aware of these things that goes on in these places, and I don't want that happening to my child. And thankfully, that doesn't happen anymore, and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Let me see here. Cindy Plaza says it sounds a lot like the children the nuns let die in Ireland until the 70s. I mean, y'all heard about that. Oh, we could do a show on that.
I've heard about. Somebody mentioned that to me too, and I meant to look into that and make a video about, or look into it to see if I wanted to make a video about it. Thank you for reminding me, Chris.
Who would be good to talk about that is John Hamill from Free Thought Prophets.
Yes,
he's an Irish guy, and he knows about the history, and of course, he's big in the movement over there too.
Cindy Plaza, she gets credit for that one. She threw it out there. Dave says, what you're describing is the same thing people have with their politicians. All the others are corrupt, but my priest is different.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it.
Right.
That's exactly it. When people want to believe that because we're stupid, our brains are stupid, and we want to think about things in concrete ways and not in systemic ways, in abstract ways. We have stupid monkey brains. And those of us who aren't as intelligent as the other ones just can't grasp abstract numbers or abstract thoughts. You may think that your individual priest may be a good guy, but systemically, the Catholic Church is rotten to the core, and they don't have to report. They're under no obligations.
And that's the power dynamic they use against you. That's why these monsters infiltrate these institutions like this, is because you can establish trust, and you do trust your priest, your pastor. You get to know them on a personal level, and they have this authority that you give them, and then they take advantage of that. And that's why it's been systematic within these institutions.
Did you guys see the debate that Chris Hitchens had with him and Stephen Fry had with a couple of?
Oh. You know
Catholic,
what?
That was fantastic.
One of my kids, what my youngest kid is 15 years old, and she is thinking about going into law someday, possibly, and that is one of the debates I refer her to, because it is such a devastating example of rhetoric right there. It is rough and completely spot on. And that's the way how you got to treat it in certain circumstances when you're talking with certain people. then you have to be devastating, and you have to be able to make your point and make it succinctly.
Right. Well, and go ahead, Andy.
And the idea that I think if Christopher Hitchens was still alive today, calling upon the ghost of Hitchens and asking him what the relationship of religion here in the States is with politics, I think he'd have something to say about it more akin to us than those who have their heads in the sand about this particular topic.
During that debate, Chris Hitchens, the Catholic Church came up and they said, well, we've made some mistakes, especially when it comes to things like these kids or something, but we need to give them the care they need. And Chris Hitchens came out and he said, it's really weird to hear you come out and say that they've been harmed and all that, and now they need the most loving pastoral care. He said, you've already given them that.
Indeed.
Right? He busted on something hard on that. And
oh man,
but
I missed
everybody knows if Arby's molested as many children as the Catholic Church, we wouldn't have an Arby's. They would
when I would be wondering
Arby's
if Arby's was doing table service, I'd be wondering, why are these kids in dresses bringing me my food? And that's what I'd be wondering. Why? And these are the people who are abusing children. Wow, that's completely unforeseen. That's surprising.
So now we've got the Boy Scouts, and it's not that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but it's not that the Boy Scouts, that society is going, you guys screwed up, we're done with you, out. That's not what happens. Those guys are going, that's not happening. That's not happening. Nobody is telling them to get out. What's happening is they're going, oh, we're getting sued by so many people, we can't afford to stay open. That's what's happening. They just can't afford it. If they could afford to continue to stay open, they would afford to continue. It's a financial thing. It's not a moral issue. Our society is not clubbing them like baby harp seals because of the religious connection, I believe. Because if they were at Arby's.
Yeah, well, I mean, President Obama, he was given some kind of honorific title as I don't know, head of I was going to make a KKK joke right then, and I decided against it. To give some kind of honorary
self-control,
title. It is honorary title to the Boy Scouts of America, which he took. And of course, atheists who know anything about the story of the Scouts are like, that's just wrong. You should not. The federal government, any level of government, should not be in league with pedophiles. Why is that a revolutionary idea? I don't know.
That's a good question.
But that's the society that we live in.
That is the society. Well, again, it's got the Boy Scouts have the attachment to, what was it? You opened up by saying that every outpost is founded by a church or something like that. Has to have the support of a church. That is what makes the Boy Scouts of America different from the Girl Scouts of America.
My den, when I was a kid, it was actually in a church. I mean, I'm not sure if most are like that, but that's how mine was.
Yeah, I mean, when we did weekly meetings in this guy's mom's, in a house. But then when we did the larger meetings, we're definitely in the basement of a church.
Right. Right. I see. Somebody was asking about me eating on the deal. I'm not actually eating. What's happening is my wife has these tasty little pumpkin snack things, and I'm trying to protect them from the ice cream ninjas. Ice cream ninjas are the ninjas who break in and eat all the ice cream when my wife is not here. And they're here trying to steal these, so I'm protecting them by eating them. I'm sacrificing for her. I'm just saying. She's at work going, he's eating my damn pumpkin. Sorry.
I'm envious of people that can eat food. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm on a diet.
Oh. Oh, well, I probably should. Yeah, if that were the case, we're not even talking about that. I did pretty good with the COVID pounds. But
well, I was gonna ask the Rage, did you drop any weight when you had COVID?
Oh yeah, I dropped about 15 pounds, which I was losing weight before it because I was dieting and working out. I just recently got back to actually working out again, but yeah, I probably 15 pounds from doing nothing, just being sick. Yeah,
just having the COVID devour your body from the inside.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
When you say it like that, Andy.
Well, and that's pretty much what it does. So, that's the thing. Like, I'm doing all these videos on, because I saw it in the chat earlier. Somebody was talking about, they're saying 98%. Just imagine the numbers. Like, no, like they're mixing their politics and their religion so crazily. These people are up to like 99.6% is the survival rate for COVID. And I'm like, the numbers are so much lower because of comorbidity. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they're saying. And they link it all together. They link it all together, and it's just ridiculous. Like, this thing is serious. You don't want to get it. If you get it, you're going to deal with it for a long time.
I mean, I don't want to talk about statistics for dummies here. All right. But I'm going to talk about statistics for dummies here.
Okay.
The idea that, that you can take white people's statistics, affluent white people's statistics, and just generalize them to all of America. That's a fallacy right there. And two, when you look at it, we are much, and we said this one time, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, we're much closer to 300,000 or past 300,000 deaths right now. And also, let me tell you this, what about the people who have permanent damage to their hearts and to their lungs? That is a drain on the economy for a generation. Or
and
a generation. And the brain fog, too. You're right. The brain damage, too.
The only reason the mortality rates are down is because we did that shutdown. We did we did the whole curve thing, and then we opened up too soon. The hospitals didn't get overwhelmed. Now they're getting overwhelmed again. The mortality rate is going to start skyrocketing. That's why our governor closed down yesterday. She's saying we're facing 1,000 deaths a week here in Michigan alone right now.
Washington State closed down, too.
Yeah. Can you guys imagine what would have happened had this virus hit the U.S. in 100 years ago when we didn't have the ventilators and we didn't have the medicines?
It would have been the Black Plague all over again.
It really
would have. In 1918, what would have happened?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it would have been much, much, much worse than it really is.
There would have been more Americans killed than more Americans were killed in Spanish flu than were in World War I. I believe the collective deaths around the world, which were something like 25 million, were more than the collective deaths in World War I. So these things are devastating.
That's wonderful. I've got it, Andy. Like we had 80 million people die in World War I between the Spanish flu and World War I, just in that like little decade right there. And now people are holding up signs. Well, not now, like today now, but you know what I mean. You'll get when I get to my point. People are holding up signs saying, gays are getting married. It's the end of the world. It's never been this bad before. I mean, it's been bad. It's been worse than this before, people.
That's why God is sending all those hurricanes, Chris.
Because all the gay people. Damn it. Gay people.
I just want to say.
Who's their representative? We need to talk to them.
I did want to touch on one or two.
I'm sorry.
One or two other stories that Fox News might be dying out or slowly being bled out because there are so many people who are now going to OAN and Newsmax. Newsmax sounds like some shoddy form of condom, to tell you the truth.
Fox News just isn't fascist enough for them anymore. Right. They have to go full fascist.
But isn't that's kind of cool that's happening? And carry on, Andy. Yeah.
I was reading
the real Republicans from the fake Republicans.
That OAN has gotten an increase of tenfold in viewers since Fox was pro-Biden. In other words, reporting facts as if they were facts. Yeah. So this crazy news source, OAN, has a tenfold increase of viewers, which is mad. That's all it is. Right, and of course, they're basically, from what I understand, they're QAnon on cable news.
Yes. And that's great. I think that's fantastic. If the Fox is going to stay more center right or try to stay more center right, and these guys go reveal themselves to be the far right Tea Party that I have said they are, then that'll give a great separation for us. I mean, they're just outing themselves. I don't know.
If Fox is center right, I'm scared.
Well, that's an Overton window we've been talking about. Yeah, no doubt. We're still not for Fox, but if Fox could go back to being more primarily what we would call old guard Republican and less more crazy Q, that would be fortunate for everybody.
That's a real possibility because the rumor mills are buzzing about Hannity and Ingram and all of them going to OAN or these other sites, So
let them go. See, that's wonderful. Yeah. Tucker, get them out.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Get out of here. No. Yeah,
I remember when Tucker Carlson was that geeky little boy on CNN on what was it, the Crossfire debate show that they had, and Jon Stewart would go on there all the time and just wreck Tucker Carlson. I miss those days, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
like Tucker Carlson was he was a much better shitbag back then. Now he's just
just a shitbag. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought it was funny, odd that he came out and took back a lie. He made a lie, got caught. Maybe that was it. He just got caught in it real big or something. I don't know. He said somebody voted that hadn't voted or something, and he came back and retracted it, which is unusual.
I have to tell you, the thing is that you never say that you never admit to making a mistake if you're on the right. You always just plow forward. And you just, especially if you're a media personality. If you're a media personality, the only thing that you need is your audience, and your audience doesn't want the truth. So their audience does not want the truth. And so the more comforting lies you tell them, just like church, the better that you'll do.
Right. This could also be a trust tool. I send out 10 lies a day. I'm going to go this ninth lie right here. I'm going to go, oh, I'm sorry. We made a mistake. And that shows my willingness to look and correct myself when I've made a mistake. And now you just assume that if you know what I mean? It's like a trust thing now.
The
other lies are now stronger.
The only, I don't think it works like that. But let me continue. If you're going to say admit to making a mistake, it should only be to solidify your point. So for an example, they said 1 million people died from Antifa this year. Well, I was mistaken. It's actually 10 million people. Bum, 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 bum. It's something like that. And that'll get your audience even more jazzed up in supporting you.
Well, they're going to, I'm curious to see where this goes myself. It's like the parlor of news outlets. Is that kind of what we're hearing?
I do want to say that I saw Fareed Zakaria on who does Global GPS 10 o'clock a.m. on Eastern on CNN, and he was making a point in his opening monologue. I don't think news people do monologues, but I'll call it a monologue. His first 5 minutes, his opening statement, and he compared Republicans not accepting the vote tallies and this kind of treachery with how the Germans responded in World War I to their loss, because there was a myth of the stab in the back, that the only reason why the Germans lost World War I was the quote unquote stab in the back. And that myth morphed into Nazism over time. It helped feed into the rise of Nazism. And I thought it was a very good point that he made, one that I made also on occasion, so that this lie of electoral fraud is comparable to the stab in the back of the Germans in World War I. And though and if allowed and if not confronted, then it can easily metastasize into something more ugly in 5 or 10 or 15 years.
We've talked often about the Reichstag moment.
Yeah.
That may or may not hasn't obviously happened yet. I wonder if that would be actually if they would use that as the Reichstag moment. For some reason at some point then between now and the inauguration, when they go, the election's been stolen from me. The Reichstag is burning. Those Jews did it. We need to go start getting those democratic socialists and killing them in the streets. Isn't that what they did? Literally?
Well, they went after the.
That's literally what they did.
They pinned it on the communist on a
communist. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
And then they just use that because once you're able, the idea about persecution is once you get the ball moving, once you have inertia behind the idea, then you can start rolling over anyone, whether it's the Roma, gypsies, or any other minority group. That's what the Nazis said. It's like, yeah, this one guy did that one thing that burned the place down. So now we can just persecute everybody.
Yep. Well, they'd already been building, right? He just needed an excuse to get the. But see, again, one of the things that I've said over is that the reason why when World War II ended, World War I didn't end, the stab in the back really kind of manifested and festered until it became the Nazi Party. The reason why the Nazi Party didn't fester and grow like that into something else after that was because they were all dead. They've been killed. Yeah. they fought a war. They lost. They got killed all the way back. For the most part, most of them were killed. That's not going to happen here. This is all going to, like Andy says, this is going to end. The dust is going to settle, and then in 3 or 4 years, there'll be more.
We're going to be having the same conversation in the next electoral cycle.
And let me posit this to you that I posited to the wife. I'm going to say, for whatever reason, let's say first year of his presidency, Joe Biden, for whatever reason, does not complete his presidency. Kamala Harris takes over first year. The next 3 years will be her fighting and the left fighting and the right fighting about her not going to be the next president, not being able to carry on. That's what we're going to see. We're going to have this huge rift between the right, the left. Imagine them having of course, they're going to blow their minds at the thought of having a black woman president, Jew, to begin with.
Yeah, sure enough. That's why it's so important for the Democrats to build their own party up as fast as they can. Because once again, we won the presidential election, but we underperformed.
Yep.
We underperformed in many other ways. So, it is time to build the party and be serious about building the party.
Well, and we're not out of the woods yet right now. I listen to Hannity every day, and Hannity opens his show. Every time he goes to break and comes back, he has this thing where he's saying, something along the lines, it's not a direct quote, but I'm going to try to find it and make a video out of it. Something along the lines of, hey, Donald Trump has stood up for us for 4 years. Now you have to stand up for Donald Trump. They are basically putting out a call to arms to take over this country. So we live in dangerous times. And I think people need to be calling that kind of rhetoric out. But I don't hear the mainstream media talking about what Hannity and the Limbaughs and the Billy Cunninghams are saying. They seem to be getting away with it.
Well, there's this idea amongst very nice liberal people that we can't confront. We can't confront the fascists directly. I'm not in that camp.
Yeah,
I am not a nice. I'm not a nice white person who lives in their cul-de-sac and can be pretty much insulated from the slings and arrows of fascism. So, AA says, a quote from my grandpa: "I killed Nazis for fun." Tough, but fair, I would say. Sure.
Have you guys seen that movie? Oh, what's it? Inglourious Bastards, I think, where it opens with them cutting the head in the forehead because you might take that hat off, but you're not taking this off. Oh no, not the scalping.
The Nazi carving and the
symbol.
Yeah.
I don't mean. It's unfortunate. I feel it's unfortunate that this is going to go away, or this could go away, and these people could take off the MAGA hats and roll up their Trump flags, put them in the closet, and suddenly hide and go back into society. These cockroaches who were willing to sacrifice our democracy for this.
They're not going away, and they are very vocal. If we are lucky, and if we're able to thread this needle in this country, we will be able to create an environment where religious fascism will be able to die out in a few generations, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, we've got to be fighting the fight right now. So it's it's right now is when we got to be fighting.
So that's where we're. All right, guys. I want to go ahead and close it up. I just want to say it's kind of where we are. We can't. It's hard not to, and I don't feel like I need to be compelled to separate the two. I want to talk about. I want politics to be so boring nobody talks about it. That's what I want. I want to talk about the religious harm. There are people out there right now trying to force our kids to say prayers in schools. We need to be focused on that and not all this other stuff. That's where I want to be. Until we get there, though, we're just going to be doing these other things. So I just wanted to visit with you. I appreciate everybody's opinions, and we're trying to do the best for the show and for everybody, which basically means fuck you. I'll do what I want. Thank you, Andy, for joining me. We're going to run a commercial here to close out the show. I just want to get to see if anything is going on in your world this week.
I'm about to post a blog satirical article on my blog, Laughing in Disbelief, about how former President Obama is now going to be part of the Biden administration as Secretary of Reparations.
Really?
Once again, this is a satirical. This is a satirical article. I'm about to post it on my blog. It's a joke meant to trigger Republicans
and others,
but it's laughing. It's a laughable thing. See, Critical Cripple goes LOL. See, you laughed. Rage, I think, laughed, or joking, laughing.
Yes,
I don't know.
Laughed.
So that's I'm about to hit. I already have the whole thing written out, and I'm just going to hit post. So.
Gotcha. Nokasuchi, what about you, brother? You got anything fancy going on?
Today, John Peterson and Faye the Most Gracious will be doing Apostate Alliance at 1:00. No guests, just them two discussing things. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at part 2 of my latest interaction with Smokey Saint. Possibly my last interaction. Like, I'm going to move on. I'm going to try to really move on to other Christians. I have defeated Smokey Saint. I'm claiming victory, and I'm going to be moving on. But tomorrow I'll finish up with him. So yeah, that's what's going on in my hemisphere.
Good. I am. I'm developing. Working on developing a thing. Like we mentioned before the show, we're going to try to get the politics sort of back on the Daily Atheist Morning Show to mostly religion, as best we can, but I want to work on a more, I've had some suggestions to try to work on a different line of shows that are more recorded and stuff. So I'm going to be working on some of that. That's kind of where I'm going. So, cool. All right, guys, I want to thank you both for joining me today. Nokasuchi, Andy, you're my heroes. Thank you. Thank you to everybody in the chat on all the channels. You guys are wonderful. I'm going to run this commercial. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Life is complicated. These are trying times. There are many questions that need answering. Want to know what's going to help? Atheism. With atheism, you'll get rid of dogma, superstitions, and toxic thought patterns that are holding you back. You can drive while taking atheism, as well as use heavy machinery. In fact, drinking alcohol, fornicating, and Sunday mornings are far more enjoyable with atheism. However, there are side effects. Some evangelicals and fundamentalists will think you are possessed by the devil. But you don't have to worry, because you know the devil isn't real. Just like God. Wake up to your life. Believe in yourself. Believe in science. Atheism.
Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, Cindy Plaza and Ian Davenport. Thank you and have a great day.